Okay. Once again, good morning and a warm welcome to the first technical session of the event, which is the 7th edition of 100 Smart Cities in India. As all of you being part of this event, except some of you, uh, all others are my regular sponsors and partners and good from the industry. And, a fantastic chairman of the session, Vivek Duwaji, uh, whom you all meeting here and there with him, a man who doesn't need an introduction. Just to briefly tell you, he is the General Manager CFA at the Bharat Sanchar Nigam Limited head office, looking after all the broadband IT projects in the broadband, BSNL headquarters in Delhi. Dua sir, I hand over to you. Invite, as you have the speaker list with you one by one, the time slot, everything is with you. So I hand over to you without taking much of your time. Dua sir.
Yeah, thank you, Shashiji. Hope my voice is coming out clearly. Yeah, okay, thank you. So yeah, looking at today's theme for this program, digital transformation of Indian cities towards smarter, sustainable and safer future. And then down below, I was looking at Dr. Chinmay Hegde's brief profile. I stumbled upon two things. One is the thing called smart, and then there was something after that is cyber. So it just took me back 30 years when I was in engineering college, and I was working in a project related to neural networks that was simulating the human brain through machines. And then one project came to us through, sponsored by Ministry of HRD, which asked us that the water pipeline system in Chandigarh city, it ran into problems very frequently. And to fix those problems, they didn't have enough number of people, smart people, or they that time called experienced. So we call smart, they called experienced guys to fix the problem. So if you have 10 problems on hand, you had only one man to fix those. So the MTTR or the fixing time would really go up for the remaining 9 problems. So they wanted us to build through the neural systems something which would emulate the human behavior, and then some kind of automation would be brought in into the pipeline system and fixing can be done. So what I was trying to share here is that my thoughts on being smart was about being more human. And more human means, you are more experienced, then your decisions are much better. And if you make the machines learn more and more, just like humans, they'll start taking better decisions. So this is all about having cities also smarter means you have a larger decision pool or a maturity pool sitting inside the machines. And then those set of machines, because you have lack of experience among humans to handle the chaos in the cities or the disorder in the cities, then the intelligence sitting inside the machines will help the city or the place work better or give a better experience to the citizens in that place. So I hope we all have great ideas on how to make our place smarter or better to live in. The speaker lineup is really excellent. I have briefly gone through the profile of all the speakers lined up for today. So I'll not waste much of your time. And I first of all invite our first speaker for the day, Dr. Chinmay Hegde. He is a subject matter expert in the areas of smart things, cyber network security, 19-year plus experience in the industry, and he has worked with global giants like McAfee, Symantec, Cisco, and he has been heading the application detection and FINRA research for Actians before he started his career, where he co-founded Netocool Group, India and Singapore both, and Interactive Spectrum in the past. At present, he is the managing director of Estricos Consulting Private Limited, a strategic consulting expert organization for smart cities. So I welcome Sri Chinmay Hegde and request him to start his presentation.
Thanks a lot, Mr. Vivek Dua, and thanks a lot, Shashiji, for the opportunity again, as usual. And it's always a pleasure to present at the Smart City Conclave of Bharat exhibition and any other such kind of events. It's quite intriguing and thought-provoking sessions. So without taking much of a time, I just want to put my slide deck on and talk about the smart cities integrated command and control centers and how they can be used for the smart decision making or informed decision making for the which is driven by the intelligence or the data intelligence. I think in the first session we have heard of people talking about how can we ensure the data to be put in the right use. So I'm going to slightly brush up on that point because I could just say that the efforts have just begun for the same. Please let me know if you are not able to see the screen. Hope my presentation is visible to all of you.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it is coming out clearly. Please go ahead.
Fair enough. So I'm going to talk about operational intelligence driven standardization because here I'm going to brush up on 2 points. Importantly is, yes, all the smart cities or many of the smart cities have already got integrated command and control centers for their cities and command control centers platforms to run their cities operations. However, it's important to use because the command and control center is the centrifugal point for the entire smart city, and it collects or gathers a lot of data. But how to use that data for intelligent decision making? And also there needs to be a clear standardization across the operations, right? So because the standardization, of course, it could not have been in last 3 to 4 years because it was smart cities in India were just upcoming, emerging. And this is the time where we need to probably achieve some kind of a standardization across and some of the capability, maturity metrics. Of course, a smart city mission has started some efforts in that direction by bringing in a draft policy and etc. Right? So, but there are some things to do, and I'm going to just showcase that what is our ideation or our respective platform of astricos.ai is going to address these things along with the multiple different command and control center applications which are there popular in industry. So where we have started putting it into the real use also. Moving on to the thing, the next slide, I'm just giving a quick overview of our organization. Of course, we are an expert consulting organization, as well as we have our own, we have over the period of built our own artificial intelligence and machine learning driven platform, which can work in any of the smart infrastructure, may it be cities, may it be data centers, may it be, the industries, factories, seaport, airport, or various different infrastructure. And we also have a kind of a patent pending for the same kind of a technique and the platform. Right. Also, our platform is, registered under ISO, accredited under ISO 37120 and 37122, and we have been working in multiple cities as well as northeastern states of Sikkim, both. Apart from that, we are quite actively working in Southeast Asia as well as Middle East. So certain global standards or essential references for applicable for the smart cities are, as of course in the previous one of the sessions I had spoken about this, is ISO 37122 sustainable cities and communities, where the global cities under World Council for City on City Data, they are achieving certain capability maturity models such as aspirational city or a bronze city or a silver city, gold or platinum. So the grading goes right like this, which considers both of some part of ISO 37120, which is indicator for the city services and quality of life, because citizens need to be happy by the services provided by the city administrators or the urban administrators. As well as there is another important imperative or the aspect which has come in last 2 years is, the thing is crisis management. Because if you see any of the attentions 2 years ago, for any kind of a tenders or the RFPs coming in smart cities, there was not much of an attention for the emergency management or any such kind of a things, healthcare management or healthcare crisis management, all these things, which actually is quite important. Of late, everybody started taking it seriously. We know why, because the pandemic hit, right? So the global cities, it is, I'm not just only talking about India, it may be globally, the same trend has been there, but now the trend is changing. So quickly, recapping on what actually the Unified Operation Center or the ICCC for the smart city is, are doing, or the platform which we call it as doing, is actually it has, the creates a main centralized control layer, right? By enabling human machine control, then empowering the respective field operators of any kind of a department, because where multiple infrastructural elements which are shown here in the southbound part of this are connected, may it be water system, any utility system, or environmental control, buildings, or the surveillance systems, or any infrastructural management such as street lights or Wi-Fi hotspots, or the traffic management, or so on and so forth, right? So all these need to be maintained, because the sustainability of the infrastructure exists. Sustainability, only then it can be smart. Otherwise, the things will be one-off cases where the things come and things go kind of a scenario, right? So very important aspect. The third important aspect is collaboration, because we have these multiple departments, enabling them the collaboration by means of creating the cross collaborative workflows or SOPs. Very important. Similarly, the power of AI, that's what we are now going to talk about, power of AI, how it could help, because the power of AI or intuitiveness, which is by means of a data intelligence or a video intelligence, which is going to enable the faster turnaround time for the city administrators to control the city better. And also visibility. When we talk about visibility, we have to consider both the angles. One is about the respective KPIs visibility for the administrators, and also we have to think about how citizens are going to perceive it, because they need to get the ease of use for availing respective services. And the availability is the next aspect, along with very important aspect being decision support system. So decision support system can be driven using the machine learning or big data analysis, or you have to have a historical availability of the data. Or very important aspect is, if we have the historical availability of the data, prediction can be done on certain kind of actions. So that's quite important to do here. Yeah. So moving on to the next one, some of the models globally known smart city frameworks are, as US is following NIST, right? Or European smart city models, or Spain's smart city models. Everybody talks about Barcelona smart city when we talk about smart city globally, right? So very well known one. Everything it says, every model says that information has to be collected, and the same information has to put back into the action, right? So information is as good as useless unless it is put back into the action. So how do we do that? There will be information which will be collected, and then it will be compiled, and then it is put into action. Once the action is taken, the action has to be put into the repository for the future reference. That is how feedback loop will close completely, right? So moving on to the next aspect, these are the two important aspects of the thing. And applying, how can we apply all these models? How these models could be applied is by means of using or implementing balanced scorecard approach. Of course, many of the organizations in the enterprise scenario, they use the balanced scorecard approach. What if the cities also start using? Okay, just before showing the smart city balanced scorecard, I want to just show what are our smart city guidelines for India. what are the weighted KPIs, right? So there are certain KPIs for number one, institutional, social, and economical and physical, right? So all these define the livability standards or city livability index. So the weightage is, yes, again boils down to the basic necessities, right? Basic necessities have 45% of the weightage, and then comes the governance index and all other respective indices. So how to do this? How to do this? And another point to ponder upon is the cardinal lapses, right? So far, what has been the lapse? Like the way I stressed upon initially, earlier, the smart city infrastructures used to be only having 1% maximum of the fund overall, right? So, but now, and because healthcare was not so much stressed upon in implementation. So are we really learning? Yes, we have started learning the lesson. So now cause and effect, and right now measuring the performance and methodology. This is the balanced scorecard approach, which corporates typically use, is actually put into the smart cities analytics based decision making, right? So we have what we have added up here to the typical traditional business balance scorecard. We have added a citizen's perspective, we have added an environmental perspective and social perspective. When we add these three perspectives, automatically it becomes the public balance scorecard for the urban administration. And also some amount of employees satisfaction is quite important. Why? Because they need to be maintaining the infrastructure which are actually put into the implementation in the city. So moving on, purpose of the ICCC platform. These are all just the reminders I'm showing right now, because purpose of the smart city ICCC platforms have been, number one is unified central platform. It controls every equipment. Second one is the control platform. Like the way I said, it controls all the equipments and elements across the city, irrespective of the tracks and verticals. And unified command platform. Command platform is responsible to command the data from all these equipments which are on the field. So it commands the data and gathers it, because of course it has to be a data-driven decision making. Now, next, it unifies the operations overall, right? So building the cross-collaborative SOPs or asset management or asset maintenance related orders it creates, and then it will be, or cross-departmental workflows. And last but not least is the unified decision support. So this is possible only if we do first four actions. Only then it is possible, right? How do we do that? So what are the standardizations for that? There are certain standardizations for any kind of things. I'm stressing upon on urban analytics here, where there are certain standards, as I just now, in the beginning I have shown, which we have done. Just to show here some of the things, what we take the approach to do this is a system approach, which actually gathers all the things, right? So all the information. So what are the objectives? Objectives are improved public health and, as well as better quality of depending on the waste collection status of the city, right? So we need to build a collaborative analysis between the waste collection system and the air quality index of the city. Similarly, if city is, the why simply, the simple question is why the industrial areas are more, more hotter than the residential areas in the city. Right? When I say industrial area, it is not necessarily only factories, right? So it could be even the business parks, right? Because we have the high amount of power consumption. So that means we need to draw the respective correlations between the power vertical or power related data, power consumption data, as well as the environmental data. So that's quite important. Similarly, we have public safety, building, the plan management, e-governance systems, and various such kind of systems which need to cross collaborate even in terms of data. So how do we do that? What are all the drivers? Because very important is we have to get the better livability. That is the goal of the smart city, right? How do we achieve to that? What are the drivers for this? Number one, for the governance index, yes, there are certain e-governance systems for the.
Chinmayi, you have another 2 minutes to go.
Yes, perfectly fine. I'll be finishing by that. Yeah. So similarly, I'm showing some of the imperatives and some of the live screens which we have done. Right. So these are how we do. These are the things how we do is we use the data, we put it back into the raising the work order for asset maintenance or creating a business process management workflows or even create a policy for the device. So this is what we have done a use case for COVID management in some of the cities, right? So I'm going to show you some of the use cases where we integrated the COVID war rooms along with the existing, more of action-oriented COVID war rooms along with the certain existing command control center platforms. This is one of the live use case of Belagavi Smart City, Karnataka. This is when the honorable member of parliament came and took an inspection overall, and our team has presented them completely. This is in Sikkim, Namchi Smart City in Sikkim, where we have set up the command control center. Also, we have implemented the PAN City completely, the full-fledged smart city implementation, and also along with our C2 RMS system, which is being used for crisis management, not only for COVID pandemic management, but other type of a crisis, because it's a Himalayan terrain, right? Where we have landslides or where we have rains and etc., floods or something, some such kind of natural calamities also, it can help out. And in Namchi city is using it right now. So, and also our, we are honored to be accredited by the largest think tank of India, that is ADCAI, who have accredited our platform and evaluated thoroughly, right? So, and they have accredited us, and that's all from my side. Yeah, hope it was useful.
Incident response management and a couple of other stuff. As you said, collaboration, intuitiveness, visibility, and finally, the right empowerment at the field level is one which makes the city really act faster and smarter. So that's what about a unified decision support system that you are attempting to create with the technology and its right use. So thank you so much for enlightening all of us with the right ideas and the implementations that you have done. And we now move on to the next speaker for the day, Mr. Ashit Makhija. So Makhija ji has 25 years of experience in IT industry. He is the Global Head Strategy and Alliances at SISL Infotech. He works closely with the promoters of company on deciding vision and direction of SISL. Prior to this, he has worked in leadership roles for organizations like IBM, Microsoft, Veritas, and CMC. He's passionate about partnering with customers to deliver value. His expertise also lies in nurturing and building customer-facing teams. So that's an excellent profile about Makhija ji. I request him now to kindly start his presentation. Makhija ji.
Thank you, Mr. Dua. Thank you very much. And thank you for the opportunity to present in this. So as Sir said, I'm a part of SISL Infotech, and we are a partner with IBM. What I'm going to present right now is around Cloud Pak for Data, which is an IBM's solution offering. And I'm doing this on behalf of IBM because we are, as I said, we partners with IBM. I will actually, what Dr. Hegde was saying is a perfect segue into what I'm going to talk about, which is really speaking, he was talking about collaboration, he was talking about intuitiveness, he was talking about visibility, and this is exactly what this Cloud Pak for Data does. So let me get into the meat of the presentation. So what's really happening today is that, there are, if you look at a typical data architecture, and, the good thing is that smart cities are pretty much coming as greenfield. So, these complications may not be there in many of these, but yes, there are applications, there are data centers which are existing there. There are a lot of, system of records which are existing there. And every time there's a new supplementary service or a new system of record which is built, the data architecture becomes more and more complex. So, and what really happens is that in the excitement to create more, piecemeal self-service applications or AI applications, this complexity keeps on increasing. So, what's the real solution to this problem? The solution really is to modernize and basically to bring a single information architecture that works anywhere, which is where we get into what is Cloud Pak for data from IBM. Now, Cloud Pak for data is something which is called the Enterprise Insights platform, which is a new term which has been coined by Forrester and PricewaterhouseCoopers, which basically brings about it's a category which has been formulated for integrated set of data management, for analytics, and for development tools. So if you look at the Cloud Pak for data, there are some core tenets. And the first tenet is that it can run anywhere. So really speaking, the platform can be hosted onto any cloud providers like Azure or like AWS or like Google or even like IBM Cloud. In fact, if this is being hosted on IBM Cloud, then the whole thing becomes actually data as a service. The other thing is that it is built on the foundation of Red Hat OpenShift, which means that and Red Hat OpenShift, as we all know, is one of the leading Kubernetes-based platforms, and all the offerings can be deployed on a container-based platform, and it gives a common control plane. With the result, you can just leave the data where it resides. But as far as users are concerned, it seems as if the enterprise data is coming from one single spot. So once the data has been connected, then the application, then the enterprise data catalog can be built from here, and from here, then the consumers have a single place to go for the entire set of data. There is also a large amount of extended services which are available, which are for specialized data management and analytics platform. And these include applications like planning analytics solutions from IBM, which help you do the planning for whether it's an FP&A planning or whether it's a manpower planning or any other kind of project planning which is there. So it's a truly hybrid end-to-end solution which is there, which simplifies and automates the journey to AI. If you ever have seen any presentations or any discussions with IBM typically talks of the AI ladder, the artificial intelligence ladder. And so if you look at these, there are various steps or rungs of these ladder which are there. So there's a collect rung, and there's an organized rung, and there's an analyze, and there's an infuse rung. And I'm going to talk about each one of them in bit detail. So collect, of course, is making the data accessible and simple. Organize is all about creating a business-ready analytics foundation. And analyze is that once you've done that, how do you build and scale the AI, and how do you build that trust and transparency into this application. And infuse is all about moving the application or the entire AI platform into the organization and making it a part of the overall organization. The important aspect here is that this helps in modernizing the whole thing, which in simple terms means it helps in simplifying the platform, the deployment, the operation. It helps in integrating various kinds of silos which may be existing there. So like Dr. Hegde was talking about, in a smart city, there could be a public safety application, it's an air quality or a health or an education or transport management or parking management, solid waste management. These are all various kinds of applications and data sources. Now, how do you integrate them? So that's an integrate layer, which is the integration which comes from the Cloud Pak for Data, which allows for these seamless integration, and of course the automation. Let me delve deeper into each one of these. The first is the collect data. I think this is a very important aspect, because what we've seen from experience is that a lot of AI projects fail at because this step has not been given enough attention to, which is the collection of the data. How is it that you make data simple to collect, and how do you make the data accessible and access to all customers through a common virtualization interface? So the data may be existing in various sources, but then how do you bring it in a single virtualized interface is what is required. So there's you bring it up on a single unified curated console, which delivers a single experience to all the users. It also helps you get data from various ecosystem of data storage services. It could be, for example, a Netezza offering, which is an IBM's data warehousing offering, or a DB2 warehouse itself. It could be from another platform like a MongoDB or a similar NoSQL platform, or from a enterprise DB platform, which is a Postgres SQL platform, or it could be from a DB2 transactional data stores. And the whole thing is governed with the automated cataloging and data privacy capabilities. The next step, which is very important again, is with respect to the organizing of the data, which is the data ops or the data operation. And this represents the automation, the process-oriented methodology, which will improve the quality and will create a business-ready analytics foundation for the organization. So there's an automation of testing, data testing, which happens. There's an automation of deployment environments, which is there through technologies like change data capture, through technologies like streaming of the data and capture of streaming data. And there are so if you some of you already know that there are two key patterns of at the core of a data operations. One is the ETL pattern, which is extract, transform, and load, and the other is the ELT, which is extract, load, and transform. So Cloud Pak for Data enables both of them. ETL is something which is being used for many years. And while on the other hand, ELT is something which today's data scientists and data analysts are really focusing on extraction, loading, and transformation. So it enables quick assessment based on the needs of these data scientists or the business analysts. The next is from the analyze perspective. So this rung offers the capability to operationalize the AI with trust and transparency. So the business analyst can run or a data scientist can run they can build models quickly, can collaborate with others to build these models. And they can use technologies like auto AI in case they do not know model building from a mathematical point of view or from a technology point of view. There's an auto AI, which is a wizard to build AI models, which can so you can generate models quickly. You can deploy these models for training and for development. It has capabilities like Watson Studio, which automates the AI lifecycle and model ops. It has capabilities of speeding up the data science development, as I said, with the auto AI. So you can prepare and build models visually and programmatically. You can deploy and run these models through one-click integration, and then once things become so easy, that's where it starts getting into the ease of operations of the AI models in the organization, because then everybody starts seeing that this is it's not that tough to do this. And the last rung is that of infusing this thing. So which really means that the business starts using the entire platform for predicting and to shape the outcomes. And you are automating the decisions. You're automating because the models are now start getting aligned with the business operations, and then you start reimagining other scenarios, because as the models are running and they get trained, and so they start throwing enough AI data and AI enabled analysis onto you. So you then start imagining what new can be done with this. So effectively, this is where the convergence of analytics comes in with the running of the business aspects. So it has various components like Watson Assistant, which is a conversational experience platform, which for any citizen service, the moment you have a conversational AI, it becomes more and more easy for citizens to interact with the platform. It has it has products like Watson Discovery, which help you in search and text analytics capabilities. It has BI platforms like Cognos Analytics.
I have another components too.
Sure, sir. I'll be able to wrap up here. And then, of course, you have the planning analytics, which I earlier spoke of, or regulatory or compliance management, regulatory compliance requirements. So, which are open pages. This is the overall architecture for Cloudpak for data. So, we don't have time, but if we start imagining all the applications and all the requirements of a smart city, you will see things fitting into this entire reference architecture and everything, which a lot of applications Dr. Kekri spoke about. The last couple of slides I have on the fact that this is a platform which has been accepted, respected by researchers and consultants like Forrester or Pricewaterhouse, and this platform has been recognized as one of the leaders in this space. So whether overall as a platform, which is enterprise insights platform, which is Cloudpak for data, or the various components of it, whether it's Watson Studio or Knowledge Catalog or Watson Assistant, each one of them has been recognized as this thing. So that was my information to you around everything which is Cloudpak for data, which I think is a perfect fitment for all the development which is happening, or the development which will happen in the area of smart cities from an AI perspective. Thank you, sirs, for listening to me, and it was a pleasure presenting this to you.
Thank you, Makija. Thank you so much. It was a very deep insight into the technological aspects of how the whole deployment cycle would happen for the technology that you have presented, starting from the various scenarios around data collection, be it the structured or unstructured data, then how to organize it, and finally, how to have the best analysis done on that data so that you have a meaningful information coming out, the right decision making happening. I just tend to compare what we do in a natural human life is data collection is all that we gather from our surrounding, from our eyes, from our ears, and all our senses. So that's the data collection as humans we would do. And then internally we'll try to assimilate that data, that how meaningful the situation is, and then take a decision that what is the way to move forward. So it's a very humanly replication of the technology that we are bringing in. And we are trying to frankly create superhumans by having large machines or the supercompute machines deployed. So definitely it's a scenario where the life is going to be hyper technology oriented. Definitely we should ensure that our application of mind should not reduce when we have all these machines around us. That's the fun part of the story. I saw a few fiction machines where humans were fighting with machines for their own survival. So I hope that situation doesn't really come up. But thank you, Makija, for this nice introduction to technology. We move on to the next speaker for the day, Shri Sumit. Sumit Shrotri has over 20 years of experience in managing and directing of high-performance business solution teams across diverse countries of India, Dubai, Europe, Singapore, US, my God. And he specializes in e-office solutions for Indian government, business process management, artificial intelligence, and robotic process automation. So that's a lot which speaks about Shri Sumit. We now would love to hear from him directly from his mouth. Sumitji.
Thank you, Vivekji, for the introduction. It is absolutely fantastic hearing the previous two speakers, especially Dr. Hegedeji, introducing the set of technologies that are required in today's smart cities, or at least the projected smart cities that we'll have eventually in the next couple of years. And then Makija ji, I think, followed up with the introduction of the technology that is going to be a key to what a smart city will look like. So obviously, there are a lot of debate about what artificial intelligence is, what's it capable of. I'll not get into that today. I'd like to introduce my company. So Costa Cloud is a brand name of Apollo Computers. We've been around for over 33 years, have been specializing in technologies like artificial intelligence, business process management, enterprise content management, and robotic process automation, all of which combined can be constituted as process automation. And we are a partner to IBM, and we work with quite a lot of IBM technologies, especially in the areas of artificial intelligence and business process management. What we do in terms of smart cities, or what we're doing in the smart city arena, is around the specific area of e-governance, which Dr. Hegde had mentioned as one of the components that is required to making a city smart. So e-governance starts from the process of how do I get a citizen to get a service faster, and how do I get that service processed faster. In the latest, example of what a smart city should look like is what the Delhi government has recently announced, that you'll have an RTO service where you can apply for all the services from home. Now that service starts from a very simple request from a person sitting at home asking for a certain, say, a driver's license. But then the driver's license process itself is a very lengthy process, because the person has to be verified as maybe there needs to be a security check on the person. Is he an Indian citizen, not an Indian citizen, and all the services that happen in the background. So what happens from a portal, a simple request on the portal, leads to a process by multiple departments, multiple agencies collaborating with each other to giving a certain verdict on a request. Now, we've been in this area and we've been automating various aspects of the e-governance for many of our customers. To name a few: the Indian Air Force, the Indian Navy, Oriental Insurance. I think the list is there on the board for you to see. The idea has always been to have, what are the challenges that we are trying to solve for the next generation. We're trying to solve the problems of transparency. Why did an RTO request, which today takes less than 3 days to get a driving license, or maybe a week to get a driving license, earlier take more than months? Was it simply that the human interface that was hampering the process, or were there other factors? And how does the digital world or the digital India really change those factors? In the implementations that we've done so far, we've been able to see the decision-making processes have become more transparent when there is more verdict on people, when people are subject to having audits created on them, when there is a oversight of what they're doing and why they're doing it and why they're taking so much time to doing it. When all those processes are available on a click of a button to a senior management or to the auditor, the processes themselves become simpler in the overall process management that we've seen. Then, obviously, reduction in corruption and the corrupt practices, loss of paper files, which was kind of a trend in many of the government offices earlier. No tracking mechanism, limited information sharing. These are the challenges that have been there for a fairly long time. And in a smart city or in a smart India going forward, removing some of these hurdles will be the key to getting a better experience for the citizens, an easier experience for the citizens. So the Digital India initiative obviously was taken over by the government a couple of years ago, and what it has led to is solutions like paperless offices, like the other solutions that we see in the market, centralized dashboards that Dr. Hegde was mentioning, and there are many other components and pieces and of the puzzle that are coming into place. Eventually, what does it lead to? It leads to increase of efficiency, audit ready, knowledge, shared knowledge, and having an omni-channel or multi-channel approach. Instead of having silos of information, having information that is feeding out to other systems. These other systems then can be used to gather or compile this data. I think Makija ji had mentioned, the biggest challenge of any artificial intelligence project is the problem of collecting the data. The data collection itself is a challenge that we need to create. Before you talk about data collection, generation of the data is the first problem that we need to solve. Are we generating enough data to collect it and then to process it thereafter? So as of right now, where we stand, we are still in the first process of generation of the data. Creating enough digital data, creating data in a format which is open to all, which is available to all to process, and thereafter leading to certain decision-making processes which are kind of automated or have a certain intelligence or computer-based intelligence based on the processes of the past. In a typical government office, the process starts, with someone receiving a certain correspondence or a file. In this case, the correspondence, the example that I mentioned earlier, the correspondence could be in the form of a request from a citizen for a driving license. Now that request has come to the RTO. How does the RTO office process that information? That is the part where the e-governance part or the e-office part kicks into place, or e-office integrates with the e-governance systems to process this information in a paperless manner. The request comes to a certain person, it gets distributed to the people, and thereafter the request goes around without changing the current processes, without changing the way government offices have been functioning based on the Whitehall filing system. Some of the features that we offer in our e-office system are correspondence management. So that would be things like docs, letters, notes, memos, life cycles from creation, the entire life cycle of from creation till its destruction and everything in between. Similarly, for file management, meeting management, task management, committee management, RTI, PQ, and knowledge management. So these are the basic highlights of the systems that we've developed that we offer to our potential customers. Statistically, or just giving an example of one of our customers, within 1 quarter of the customer using our system, they were able to get the entire ROI of what they had invested for our system, just by the reduction in the number of pages. The amount of trucks that used to come to this organization. So this statistic is for a bank or a non-retail bank that we'd implemented it for, PSU Bank, and they used to get trucks of paper every month, and just because of the amount of audits and the processes that they had, that much paper used to be printed every quarter. Within a quarter, they were able to reduce that paper requirements by almost 70 to 80%. And as of today, they've reduced their paper requirements by almost 90-95%. So this is who we are. We are Costa Cloud. We have been implementing the e-governance solutions for the last 7 to 8 years for the Indian government, PSU, and defense sector. And I'd be more than happy to answer any questions if you have around us.
Thank you, Sumitji. Your organization, yourself specializing in process automation, that's what you highlighted, and the use of artificial intelligence, content management, robotics, all of which leads to improvement in the working of the environment, particularly the digital office thing that you exemplified, bringing in more transparency and a better way of working. I have also noticed that whenever you bring in IT in your ecosystem, the first thing that you need to look at is the business process re-engineering, because most of the government systems, the processes which have been defined, they are like 50 years, 100-year-old, when there were a lot of people around, and then hop by hop, step by step, everything would happen. So the whole files case will move through a number of hands before it comes to the final decision maker. But with the introduction of IT, as you highlighted, tons of paper saving because of those files not being there happened, and the whole solution made the environment greener. So we have excellent exemplification done by Sumitji, and I'm very sure this level of adoption, which is very much required in the government system, will not only make the system efficient and transparent, but greener also. So thank you so much, Sumitji, once again for enlightening everyone with the technology deployment that you have done. And may I now request Shri Prasoon Talukdar. He has over 21 years of rich experience in IT and telecom. He is collaborating with customers and partners, helping them to be successful in their digital transformation journey to become sustainable, efficient, and intelligent enterprise at Microfocus. Prasoonji.
Thank you, Vivekji. Very good afternoon. And thank you, Bharat exhibition team, for giving us the opportunity to present our point of view to this August gathering. I really feeling privileged and honored to be part of this panelists and the speakers. What I'm going to talk about is what we have been doing in the smart city domain and our experience of partnering with more than 30 cities in India and the smart city operations. So before I go into the our point of view and what we have been doing and supporting the smart cities, just a quick glance of what Microfocus is significant. We are one of the top 10 pure play software companies into enterprise. We have an experience of almost 40 years into the industry, 40,000 customers, helping them in digital transformations, including government and enterprises, and almost 98 out of 100 Fortune 100 companies come in this list. In terms of our presence, we are present in 48 countries, headquartered in UK, in India for more than last 2 decades. We have 12,000 employees, 300 products, and we come up with almost 100 plus releases in every 24 months. Very significantly, we are a technology company, and our significant product development happens in India, which is a major R&D center for us in Bangalore, and that is where we have more than 3,000 employees who are engineers, researchers, and the operation people, and promoting the Make It India initiatives of Prime Minister Modi. Now, Microfocus is has a strong foundation in terms of a journey of last 40 years. We have been supporting our customer for a long-term value creation. Some of the things like to just tell you that you have some of the established product like COBOL, data protector and stuff like that you must be knowing, and that is what our journey started probably 40 years back. Even the SBI and LICs, they are still using those softwares what we have, and still we are supporting them to move into advanced software platform with our DevOps solutions, and also the cyber security innovations that what we brought in last 7-8 years. In this whole journey, we not only have developed a lot of technology to support our customers, we have also had successful stint of acquiring many companies. And you can see this slide has got multiple companies, multiple brands, which are all products of or the portfolio of Micro Focus today. And one of the recent one is we have our merger of HP assets. HP software company got acquired in 2017, and that is where I think we have become one of the largest software company in the world today, and helping our customers on multiple initiatives in digital transformations. Coming to the smart cities now, smart city mission, as all of us is our started in 2015. I think last 5-6 years we have seen interesting journey where we have worked with almost 30 cities, and we have certain experience we'd like to share with you now. But at the same time, we also have seen that COVID time, how the smart city command control centers becoming a crisis management centers and helping the cities to handle the crisis, manage the information and the planning of it. And it was really amazing to see that it was never thought of, but yes, it happened to be extremely useful for many of the cities today in the country today. Now, when we talk about the smart cities, basically you are trying to boost the economic development and improve the citizen services, right? So that is where I think we have so many systems deployed with the IoT, cameras, traffic control systems, solid waste management, and definitely there are applications like e-governance, ERPs, and mobile app or the citizen app, where its final objective is to giving the better quality of service to citizens, and also finally you are integrating everything into a centralized command and control center. That is the model, successful model, what I've seen in India for the last 5-6 years. And finally, you have a data center or the DR site where you are running all your applications, right? So this is something which is pretty interesting journey. Now, finally, what we see is that you have the three things which needs to be managed, which is the applications, IT infrastructure, and the information which is being generated out of these two. Now, and that is where that is where the Micro Focus is very strongly placed and helping customer how to manage all these three. That is number one. And number two is that how you are delivering services optimally and getting the insight out of the data being generated and doing it securely. Now, how we have been doing it, I'll just take 2 minutes to give you a perspective that how we are helping customer on that. First, we are creating a cyber security layer to manage or the protect your applications, right? And that is where the application security comes into picture. And then you have the security incident management platform, which actually helps customer to do the real-time monitoring of the incidents, and then you do a lot of proactive actions to stop stop the compromises, the security breaches, and definitely the different kind of hacking. So because now your data becomes open, a lot of public informations are there into the system, so it is becoming important to not only secure the infrastructure and applications, but also the information. So encryption is becoming a important tool by which now customers are protecting their data. Now, not only the protecting data, but also you need to back up the data and protect the data so that in the future you can get it whenever it is required. Second part, which is extremely important, is that most of the solutions what today we have or we have implemented, where the big data and the predictive analytics are inbuilt. Now, when it is inbuilt, that means that AI and ML softwares are the tools today helping customers to do the higher level of automations when they are managing their IT infrastructure or the applications. Second, there is an increasing demand from the customers today where we see the user behavioral analytics. That is where I think there are a lot of time is being saved by the security operations team or the network operations team, where they can actually reduce a lot of false positives. Now, overall, this is actually helping customer not only from the implementation point of view. But I think what we are trying to do, helping customers today with our technologies, we are helping from the planning stage to building and up to the running operation stage itself. Now, how it is being done? Let me just take 2 minutes here into this slide so that you get a perspective. So whenever on a smart city or any other large application deployment or large infrastructure deployment, you need to plan your infrastructure, plan your applications, and then you build it. Now, it is important that when you build something, you need to test the quality, test the functionality, and also test the security of it, so that when it gets deployed, you do not see any glitches. I think we have recently seen that income tax 2.0 portal was having some glitches, and that is why in the news now. But I'm sure that being a administrator of the smart city authority or the operator, definitely I do not want to face this kind of situations when I am seeing that my citizens are facing problem in terms of accessing the applications or accessing the services or even the infrastructure which is being provided by the smart city authorities. Second, once you build your applications, build your infrastructure, then you are actually delivering the services to the citizens. So that is where you need to have a robust IT infrastructure, and that needs to be managed. So that is where we come in. We help customers to not only the creating the high speed provisioning platforms, but also if there is any problem in terms of the fault, in terms of the SLA monitoring. So all this assurance of the IT infrastructure being managed through different tools. So we actually enable customers to do it more efficiently. So whether it is a cloud, or it is on-premise, or it is maybe a hybrid infrastructure. So that is where it is important that we help customer to manage and run their data center, run their ICCC center or the ICT infrastructure through various tools, starting from EMS, NMS, and stuff like that. Most important, as I've told you earlier also, that cyber security, or you have to protect your application, protect your data, not only the data and application, but also the identity of the user. So today smart city or any government authority is dealing with a lot of privacy information or the confidential information. So identity and the access management becoming very, very critical. That is where we have a strong portfolio which we are supporting many customers today in smart city and different other government departments, and also across the enterprise. The last one is definitely our analytics platform, which helps customer to get deeper insight, helping them to take a lot of decision making, whether it is a management of their infrastructure, applications, or even the security operations. So happy to share with some of this prestigious projects which we were part of as a technology provider, whether it is a Ministry of Finance, whether it's a GSTN or income tax or Central Board of Excise and Customs, or maybe it is some of the large banks like Reserve Bank or Bank of India. Even you talk about large oil and gas companies like public sector undertakings today, ONGC, IOCL and all, and the railways, Railtel and CREASE, and definitely the defense. So even these are our lighthouse projects where we have been supporting customer with our IT operations management tools and the cyber security solutions with customers, and also the application delivery management solutions. Yes, on the smart city side, as I've told you, this is one of the very good information to share with you, because many of these smart city customers have been using it, and we have a good amount of experience to working with these customers, how they have done the implementations, and we also created a lot of use case out of India. And just to share you one of the insight that today the way some of the use case we have been created, we are with the different authorities in India on the smart city domain. And some of these use cases are being used as a reference for some of the global deployments. So yes, many developing countries, many third world countries, even some of the developed countries are also taking India reference, which we have created with our solutions today in India. Just to give you a quick visibility of what kind of use case we are talking about. One is most common. Yeah, sure. So some of the things are city surveillance, where, and also we know about traffic management systems, and city Wi-Fi, and then you have smart healthcare system. There are citizens portal or the mobile applications, and there are many more, right? So now what we're doing is that helping customer to not only plan and build, but also to deploy this application with our IT operation management solutions and cybersecurity solutions, and also the predictive analytics platform. So that is what I thought of presenting, to give you a perspective of what we have been doing in smart cities and how we have been helping customers, almost 30 plus cities in India. Thank you.
Thank you, Prasoon sir. With the great experience of 30 plus smart cities deployment that you have, your learnings are certainly a source of inspiration for all of us. And the way you have highlighted the challenges around application management, information management, and infrastructure management, and the way you have handled all these challenges, it's really commendable. You highlighted the importance of security infrastructure, be it the physical or the logical security. This certainly happens to be one of the biggest challenges globally today. And definitely we need to ramp up our infrastructure to handle this big challenge. You also have mentioned in detail about the plan, build, deliver, and run cycle. And I'm sure that after the run, there's a learning cycle, which again loops back to again doing a fresh round of planning and building up and rebuilding up. So this goes on in a very cyclic manner, and it's a complete ever learning and challenging cycle that we are into to improve the way technology governs the way we live. So thank you once again, and we move on to our next speaker for the day, Mr. Mike Lewis. Mike has rich experience of both security and telecommunication industry over 20 plus years with brands like Mobitex in security for a long period of 8+ years, and with Molex on the networking front. With a background in structured cabling and fiber optic systems, design and project management, Mike has got involved in IP physical security around 2000. During his career, he has worked for several global manufacturers and distributors, so he understands sales channels and the importance of education and demonstration of companies' products. So education definitely is one of the biggest challenges we face about technology today. Though we have sufficiently large set of technological innovations, our awareness is certainly bad or poor. So now over to Mike to enlighten us, to educate us on the theme. Mike.
Right. Good morning. Good morning. Just making sure that you can hear me okay. Right. So very, very good morning from London, everyone. As my colleague there just explained, my name is Mike Lewis, and I'm Head of Business Development for Norden here in the UK. Now, a big part of what I'm going to be talking to you about today is centered around smart surveillance and CCTV. And for those of you that know anything about the UK and CCTV, you'll know that we've got a very firm embedded history dating back maybe 40 years using CCTV cameras. And we have arguably got more CCTV cameras per head than anywhere else in the United Kingdom. So we've kind of grown up and evolved with CCTV over the years and come to appreciate and respect its capabilities, and furthermore, appreciate what smart CCTV is. So hopefully you can see my slide deck, and let's go through it. So
not yet. We are not able to see your slide deck.
Oh, sorry. Right, there we go.
Yes, it's on now.
Perfect. Okay. Right. Okay. For those of you not familiar with Norden, so Norden are a company of just over 20 years in actual fact. We've had our headquarters here in the United Kingdom, just outside London since 1998. And the main markets that we've been servicing are the Middle East, Africa, obviously India, Asia, and also the Europe, including the UK. And basically, we are a single source supplier of products including IT cabling, CCTV, access control, and public address systems. And the big focus as far as Norden is concerned is on quality. So we have a dedicated quality assurance department, which is run in certified standards with ISO. And we have certificates and trading acceptances throughout the world, depending on the type of products that we're talking about. So for instance, UL, CE, CPR, LPCB, for example, just to name a few. So as I say, we are a global brand and people recognize us from a connectivity point of view, so structured cabling, and also from a security solutions point of view. So as I say, public address, access control, and CCTV. And along the bottom of the slide there, you'll see some of our brands. So from a structured cabling point of view, that is known as Norden. INOR is the name given to our IP CCTV brand, SECNOR for access control, and NVS for our public address system. So when we talk about smart cities, some of the prerequisites and some of the requirements for smart cities extend a lot further than simply having a CCTV camera recording a street. So in today's age of technology and connectivity, we have the ability to be able to share CCTV cameras amongst interested parties. We have the ability to introduce a level of AI. So the ability for a camera to make a decision based on a particular movement or a particular pattern, or even logic, cause and effect, for instance. So for instance, when we talk about smart cities CCTV, we could be talking about simply a surveillance system, a system that allows people from a central monitoring perspective to keep an eye on the streets from a safety point of view. But also from a recording angle, we can play back footage to understand exactly what went on post-event. Additionally, an added level of intelligence could give us the ability to do facial recognition. These are all technologies that have been deployed for many years in and around the UK. So it makes sense to use this trusted and tried technology throughout the rest of the world. Additionally, and this was one of the big drivers with smart cities, is intelligent traffic management systems. And what this gives us the ability to do is for the system itself to make decisions based on certain events. Number one, obviously, automatic number plate recognition. Again, this is a system which is tried and tested. It basically looks at the number plate of a vehicle, cross-references that with a database, and instantly works out whether that vehicle is driving in accordance with the law, and also obviously driver details such as, is the potential driver of that car a potential guy of interest? Red light violation detection, okay, so cameras that are covering intersections with traffic control lights. These have the ability to detect whether someone has gone through a red light and then obviously take action. Speed violation, again, obviously, most road accidents in some way are attributable to excess speed. So therefore, it makes sense to try and limit that by speed detection via video. But additionally, we have an added level of intelligence now where cameras can see a scene and the system behind the cameras can actually make a decision of, is that person on a motorbike and is that person wearing a helmet, okay? Additionally, we can create zones of interest within the view of a CCTV camera, and we can actually create rules based on exceptions. So for instance, a camera looking at a street could have an exception rule based on, is parking allowed? Even how long is parking allowed? Additionally, on top of this, we've also got violations in terms of road flow. So for instance, going the wrong way up a one-way street, things like that. We've got the intelligence now in this day and age to use video for a lot more than simply recording events. Additionally, some of the other things that we've worked with smart cities on is in-vehicle recording. So I'm sure we're all quite conversant with having a dash cam in our car to record what's happening in front and behind of the car. However, working with public transport providers, we can offer solutions for recording what's happening outside public transport and also inside public transport vehicles, such as buses, coaches, trains. And additionally, very, very topical, but I'm sure we don't want to talk about it too much, we have got the ability to do thermal monitoring and detection. So the ability to have a video camera that is looking at the doorway of a public building maybe, that can actually detect if someone is potentially not very well. So all of those are prerequisites maybe for a smart city. So what I'd like to tell you about now is just a few of the smart cities that we've worked on previously. So Varanasi, this system has been live for just over 1 year. In total, it was just over 2,100 cameras. And typically the CCTV requirement, firstly, was general surveillance. So as you can see here, by the picture in the right-hand corner, typically a control room with many, many cameras and people watching those cameras and monitoring them for particular, maybe traffic congestion issues or accidents, things like that. But a big part of CCTV is the deterrent effect. Physically, people knowing that there are CCTV cameras covering a particular area could potentially stop people from committing a crime. But in addition to that, Varanasi was also one of the smart cities that looked for smart surveillance, including automatic number plate recognition and also facial recognition. So next up is Trivandrum. Again, this project is actually due to complete at the end of this year. It's about 1,100 cameras. Now, the requirement here for smart CCTV was a lot greater, and they were looking at red light violation in addition to ANPR and facial recognition, speed violation, no helmet detection, and also illegal parking. So they're using the system, or they will be using the system, to a lot more advantage and actually to give them a higher return on their investment. Noida is another project which we've just been awarded, and potentially the requirement here is again for roughly 1,100 cameras. The requirement for CCTV was very, very similar to the previous smart city: ANPR, facial recognition, red light violation, speed violation, no helmet, and also illegal parking. The great thing with these systems is if you start off with a really good quality image, then in the background, you can actually build on these systems at a later date. So one of the key things with Norden is we don't aim to just deliver a project and move on to the next project. We aim to partner with the end user and also the integrator as well to ensure that going forwards, the actual delivery of that project carries on delivering exactly what the customer wants going forward with technology. Now, a project slightly out of the region in Vietnam, An Chan, 2,036 cameras. This was awarded nearly 2 years ago, in actual fact. I thought it was quite important to share this with you, just to show the global reach as far as Norden's concerned. Here, the requirement's very, very basic initially. However, now they are actually looking at building on that and adding further intelligent modules to the already installed CCTV. So that demonstrates how those assets can continually offer further enhancement and payback. So in terms of mobile monitoring, especially for public vehicles, you have the ability to keep control of what's going on inside the vehicle, but also from a legal perspective, or maybe from a blame point of view, actually monitoring outside of the vehicle as well, just to assess who did something wrong in the event of an accident. So what we would provide in this particular instance is a number of cameras, both inside and outside of the vehicle, a video recorder that would record onto some sort of solid state medium, such as a compact flash card or a hard drive, solid state hard drive, But again, this is using the latest high definition cameras to give you absolute Facebook quality picture recordings, and also the ability to be able to record and play back those images, maybe even over the internet and maybe even over the mobile connection. As I say, thank you.
Yeah,
we have got the ability to be able to detect maybe if there is someone with a temperature that could cause us concern. So these kind of cameras are being deployed today in many, many airports, train stations, bus depots, all around the world. Obviously, monitoring temperature is a good indication as to whether there could potentially be a problem. Public address is also a very, very big part of security, the ability to be able to advise people of issues and things like that. So this is exactly where NVS comes in, being able to do PA solutions. Here's a few of the products that are in that portfolio. Very much IP centric, so very, very scalable and decentralized. The reasons why people use Norden is for these reasons. We are a single source brand, we are solutions-led design, standards compliant, very, very flexible and adaptable. And we've got all of the third-party certifications and approvals, but primarily it's a robust and environmentally proven design. So that's me out of time. Thank you very much for listening to me. And yeah, I appreciate your audience.
Thank you so much, Mike. Your ideas, your implementations around smart surveillance, connectivity and security solutions, particularly highlighting the intelligent traffic management systems that you have deployed, where the systems can take care of or taking decisions based on the number plate as you highlighted, and whether the route flouting has happened on red light, helmet, speed violation, etc. So large cities, urban communities definitely run into a lot of similar challenges. And if there is some level of automation built around having the right surveillance and of course the decision making happening, it's a much better governance system in place to improve behavior of the citizens living in that area and making the place safer and better. The insights that you have shared on the deployment in Varanasi again should be very helpful for all of us to see how smart city and the camera surveillance systems gel together to improve the quality of life, and so many other cases around the world that you told. So thank you so much, Mike, for sharing all the details. And may I now request Mr. Sharad Arora. Sharad ji is a telecom industry professional with 30 years of experience. He has made contributions to development of several ecosystems in India, like mobile telephony, digital certificates, digital wallets. He has supported the standardization and policy initiatives for telecom, IT, transport, and urban development. His visionary approach led Sensorize to pioneer a new business model for IoT M2M service providers, winning several awards in the journey. Over to you, Sharad.
Thank you, Mr. Dua. I hope I am audible and my screen is visible to you.
Yeah, it's okay. Please.
Thank you. And thank you, Sashi and Bharat Exhibitions for bringing the 7th edition. And good afternoon to the very distinguished speaker panel here. I think we are a bit behind, so I will get straight into the discussion. I would like to say I'm not selling anything. I'm not presenting anything much about Sensorize. I am the founder of Sensorize. I also vice chair the study group services and solutions for India's TSDSI, the standardization body in India. And my subject is on securing smart cities with emphasis on standards-driven approaches and best practices. So without much ado, I'll get straight into the subject. Securing smart cities and having them standards-based, having them interoperable, and having a platforms-based architecture is what I'm going to talk about. In that, as you can see, there are a few bullet points here, most of which will essentially concern the smart city administrators and practitioners who may have experienced some of these difficulties and challenges. But just before that, a few slides that could help lead into this conversation more easily. Let me see if we all know that technology is evolving very rapidly. New business models are arriving. Everything is becoming smart. And smart cities is the point at which they are embraced. Smart cities is the point at which citizens get to benefit or be threatened by these advances. You'd also notice that so far we were galloping along the mobile highway with people getting connected. And as you can see, the number of connected peoples is going to be overtaken, I guess, a bit more shortly than it's shown on the slide 2030, but we will get more devices and more machines that will talk to each other. Some of these things raise the big issue about trust. And everything is internet connected. The perimeter of what used to be an organization or an enterprise and what used to be a security parameter have virtually vanished. And as a result, there is a need for a much higher degree of security than has ever been experienced before. So we now have mobile security threats, the vectors that operate the internet, all of that put together into what can be called the overall threat landscape. And actually speaking, with smart cities, as was brought out by several speakers, Prasunji spoke about it, I think, and so did Sumitji, but I could be missing a few things here in what was spoken in the last few speakers. Important thing is that the national digital infrastructure is being created under smart cities. A lot of public data, a lot of individual information is flowing through these smart cities backbones. And it is very important that this growth is orderly, and how we proliferate the high tech is done in a manner that is standards based. Sorry, there was some trouble with transition of the slide. And I would like to point out that the Bureau of Indian Standards is working through various bodies and working with various panels to ensure that the Indian industry, governments, and smart city practitioners have a standardized reference architecture. Very recently, they have released the ICT standards and the IoT standards with both the reference architectures that are now finalized and released. And it is very important to point out that for people who make solutions and for people who buy solutions, the approach that ensures standards-based deployments and interoperability is actually very critical, because if we have 100 smart cities and each of the 100 smart cities have their own formats, templates, interfaces, then an overall national governance system will never emerge, and an overall security schema will never stabilize. Aside from ICT, as we all know, there are a lot of machines that are talking to each other. People use mobile phones for applications. Mobile phones give way to many mobile connected devices such as vehicle tracking devices, etc., that have further connectivity requirements. And as such, there is a very large and growing data pool which is coming from shared devices, which is coming from shared public information, and so on and so forth. It needs to be architected in a manner that this information is protected, it's interoperable, it can be shared, and it can be shared without security breaches. For which, one more time, there are BIS standards, and there are other standards which are developed by standard setting organizations such as TEC, which deal with device and application security. They specify what are the security classes. They specify the key aspects of registration and certification. And they also have a sufficiently detailed base of what is to be done in order to ensure that the security trust is maintained in most of these implementations. So as you all probably know, that security and trust are rested on multiple dimensions, of course, but often it is said that the security triad of CIA and then non-repudiation more or less fulfills the major security requirements. On the right, you see the trustworthiness attributes that ITU has specified. You will also be aware that in how smart cities are being implemented, there is a physical world. This is an ITU representation, and I found it very effective. There is a physical world and there are physical things. There is a cyber world and there are cyber applications, and then there is a social world. Interestingly, ITU has done a lot of work in trying to say how to develop a trust index. I recall that maybe in Dr. Hegde's initial presentation, there was a mention of the livability index. Here I talk about a ICT trust index. And this is not a training, but my purpose is to make people aware that following very well drafted standards makes better products and solutions, and to make people aware that such information is actually available in plenty, and also that TEC is making a very, very humongous effort in bringing what can be called now national standards. So TEC has adopted 1M, 2M standards as national standards. And compliance of these is a very important aspect for a global play for Make in India. As we go from being what can we call the software house of the world to BPO of the world, in the time to come, we must take our claim to the very large economy that will emerge around IoT and ICT. And for that to happen, India and Indians will not be sufficient to serve only the domestic market. And to serve the international market, the harmonization with international standards is critical. For example, TEC standardized the eSIM in India, which made possible the multi-network high quality of service for mission critical use cases. It made possible remote administration of profiles, which means, for example, a camera stuck 20 feet high, or a connected camera or a connected router stuck 20 feet high on the street side. You could change the profile on that without having to switch cards. And you could have multi-profiles in these connectivity requirements, such as to offer high quality of service. And this is completely standardized. Similarly, the Nirbhaya framework took the standardized approach. AIS 140 standard specified how a device will be manufactured, how it will be certified, what features it will have, and then made it mandatory in order to improve public security, made it mandatory for all public service vehicles. And what that has done is it has created a mini industry of 200 MSMEs, which offer devices, applications, connectivity, and so on and so forth. Mr. Dua, BSNL is actually the national backend provider, and that pride of place comes from its very future-thinking people in BSNL that are currently operating the M2M space. Continuing from here, basically to say there is a common service layer, there's an application layer, there is consideration for standardized approaches and using global standards, making things work in a fashion that makes proliferation easy. In a quick summary, our suggestion is that the meeting and the conference puts focus on the fact that government spending is critical to developing high-tech services and solutions. And 100 Smart Cities or Bharat Exhibition's efforts in this area for 7 years are remarkable to bring the government the industry, policymakers to one table. Here, I can emphasize that the government spending to create local IPR, which marries global standards, is very critical. And the SDOs in India are working very hard to help create global standards, help bring global standards, which will benefit the Indian ecosystem of solutions. And smart cities is a very, very important area. It must follow the ICT specifications that are being written in BIS. It must follow the national standards that are being adopted by TEC, because doing so will provide, number one, interoperable, a reliable set of services and solutions, but also it will give a huge impetus to Make in India, Digital India, and Startup India, with the provisions that have been created for preferred market access and production-linked incentives. It's also very important to develop local certification capabilities. And of course, with conferences such as this, to have a good understanding of how the government, the smart cities, the enterprises, the academia can work together. Thank you very much, Sashi and Vinodji. Back to you.
Thank you, Sharadji. Sharadji has highlighted on a couple of very challenging aspects in the smart city deployments, particularly with the deployment of millions of interconnected devices. We have a lot of challenge around trusted devices and the need of higher level of security that needs to be there, so as to see that the information which is reaching to all of us through these devices is a trusted information. So he has spoken about the trust index also. My take on this would be that slowly we are moving towards a federated trust than a single source of trust. Thereby, the whole concept of blockchain will slowly get rolled out across all industries, and you have a much better understanding of trust rather than taking it from a single server or a single source. So this distributed architecture should help address the problem of trust. That's my take on this. He has also highlighted on the release of IoT reference architecture by the government that should help in the standardization of the whole deployment that is happening around smart cities and the various devices that are getting integrated to it. So thank you, Sharadji, for enriching knowledge that you have and you have shared with us. And we now move on to the next speaker for the day, Shri Ajay Kumar Dubey. He's the country head for mid-markets and channels ForcePoint. He's an enthusiastic public speaker with vast experience in corporate world. He has been a regular speaker in various cybersecurity forums. He has addressed various kinds of audience, including the bureaucrats, the politicians, and the decision makers. At ForcePoint, Ajay Dubey is responsible for managing the mid-market business in India and managing the channels for India and SAARC. He's a cybersecurity expert with 24 years of experience in the IT industry. For past 9 years, he's heading channels for ForcePoint. Earlier, he worked with Blue Coat, now called Symantec, and Sun Microsystems, now called Oracle, and Aventil, now Sonic Wall. So he has a very, very deep, rich experience working across various organizations in the IT industry. So I invite Ajay ji to please speak and share his thoughts with the forum.
Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot. I hope you're able to see my screen.
Yes, we can.
Thank you, sir. Thanks for the kind introduction. A warm welcome to all the audience and a warm hello to all my fellow speakers. I will keep my session as crisp as possible and try to make it also a little bit interesting for you. Smart cities, securing smart cities would be the topic that we would be talking today, and we have had the opportunity, good fortune to work with several smart cities. I've tried to map down, I should say, some of the work that we have done. We have also been associated with a bunch of public sector organizations, state governments, central government, and also the forces in India. Various forces, we have done various kinds of security work, and it's a sense of with a sense of pride that we associate with all these organizations, and it's an awesome journey that we have had. ForcePoint has been around in India for nearly 16 years, and all through this years we have been working with various government agencies and corporate sector in India. I will briefly touch upon the key problems and the key areas that the smart cities, from a security point of view, so the smart city organizations try to address. One of them is data security. Right, data, of course, is very, very critical. I think many speakers have touched about it. There is customer data. There is various kinds of data that needs to be secured, and there are always predators trying to grab a copy of this data from organizations for reasons that we very well know. DLP is one such solution, data loss prevention, which helps in protecting your data wherever it might be. The data could be in somebody's desktop, it could be in somebody's laptop, it could be it's usually in large servers. Wherever the data resides, this needs to be protected. I will not go into depth of what DLP is, but then for those of you who are new to this, I would like to introduce the concept of DLP to you, or rather, I would like to explain what DLP is in one line. So this is what DLP does in one line. Right? DLP basically controls who can send what information, where, and how. Based on these 4 inputs, a decision is taken whether to allow that data transfer to happen or should it be blocked. So let me repeat. So who can send what information, where, and how? And controlling this, 1H and 3 Ws, controlling this is basically what DLP does. To just give you an example, so Ajay, just me, I'm trying to send, say, a critical database. I'm using my internal email ID, and its audience is internal. Say, let's assume it's my boss, my manager, and I use an official email ID. Obviously, the transaction needs to be allowed, right? I have legitimate access to that database, and I'm sharing it with my, say, one of my colleagues, and that should be allowed. But what if tomorrow I decide to send this to my Gmail ID and I use, say, a Chrome or an Internet Explorer? Obviously, that needs to be blocked. Though I have legitimate access to this data, I probably have a privileged access to this data, to this database, and I should still be blocked from sending it to my Gmail or to any such place. At the same time, at the same moment, allowing me to send it to certain places. So basically, who can send what, where, and how? Controlling this is what DLP is. We need to define. Most of these are very easy to define these days. There are tools and technologies available to define each of these parameters, and these are all like check boxes. And you select, this is what he can do, this is what he cannot do. So that makes DLP very, very interesting. Now, who are the people who could possibly steal data from? Who are the people who are interested? Who are the predators? More often than not, it is external hackers. We have seen many a times that for the Indian government organizations ranging from PSU to defense organizations, the hackers are usually from across the borders, both side, left side, right side, across the borders. They use sophisticated tools and sophisticated technologies to grab our data. So there are external hackers who are very much interested to know what's happening in our servers and what kind of data is being stored. They want to grab this data. There are malicious insiders. This could be a smaller set of attacks compared to the external hackers, but they definitely exist. These are the Mir Jafars of the Panipat War, if you know history, or if any Johnny Gaddar, right? The internal guy. What's the Hindi phrase for it? Oh, I'm not getting it right now. It's okay. So malicious insiders are
the people that we need to be really wary of. And then the third, which is again a smaller set of incidents that happen, but they do happen, is accidental loss. Right, people, it happens to me. I have done it a couple of times. When I want to send the price list or a quotation to a customer, I end up sending a similar sounding file which has my cost price and all that. So I end up sending that to customers. So sometimes I do that mistake. So it happens. So those things need to be prevented. So it's outsiders, insiders, and accidental loss. Let's focus on the first two a little bit. If you look at one of the case study examples that happened in India of an external hack in a government organization, is most of you might know this name. And this happened in July 2017 when an hacker from outside the country, from the other side of the border, they managed to make an entry into one of our critical infrastructures, and they managed to steal about 15 crore data records of internal of our country. We discovered that after a few days, maybe 2-3 weeks, and then on September 2017, this was confirmed and it was officially disclosed. Of course, India doesn't mandate to announce it to the whole world like they do it in the States or in some other countries. So this was disclosed to a limited set of people. And then, of course, the security strengthening process started, and in 2 years, there were many security initiatives taken to strengthen the whole process. So this very much happened just around, just amongst us. But then this didn't start in July 2017. This started a little earlier. This started in May 2017, roughly 3 to 4 months before, when one of the mid-level employees of this organization, in her pastime or in her lunchtime maybe, she clicked on a link which she thought was, trying to give her some kind of information that she was seeking. We don't know exactly what she was seeking or what she did, but she did click on a link which looked like a news link, but it wasn't. It took her to a malicious place, and a payload or a malware got installed in her machine. And it took nearly 100 odd days for that malware to understand the network, to study the network, and spread itself to various parts of the organization. Basically, laterally, it spread across to many other machines until it reached one of the admin users who had a privileged access to the database that this country was looking at. And using the privileged access of that employee, and without the knowledge of that employee, they accessed that data, and one fine night, they stole about 15 crore records from there, which caused a considerable amount of embarrassment and damage. This has also happened to many organizations. I was trying to list down the names of organizations, but then I thought it's not nice. We have an NDA with many of them, so we cannot share, and we also don't want to share some of these information, but it happens all around us. You would be surprised that it happens. It could have happened to you as well sometime in the recent past. Insider threat is another very interesting area. Let me take an example of Tesla, the electric car guys. So somebody joined them in April 2017, and after 1.5 years of joining, he stole the entire software code which runs the car. He uploaded it somewhere, and then he quit the organization in Jan 2019. And this was again later identified, and there's a court case going on against that employee and stuff like that. But so what am I trying to say? I'm trying to say that the yellow dots that you see is when we came to know as suppliers and as users of cybersecurity that a breach has happened, but actual breach happens much before that. Few months or few years before the breach is when the actual activity or the build up towards the breach happens, and that is where we try to build this solution called as protection from insider threat. This insider threat in both the examples, even the external hacker, the lady who clicked on the news article, she is an insider, right? Of course, she's an insider, but then she clicked on a link and a malware came, and after that, it is all an insider's job because her access was used, her credentials were used, and there was a lateral spread, and it was all it was all happening inside the network. Of course, the malware was being controlled a little bit from a control center outside the country. So insider threat solutions will help us address many of these issues. The way these solutions work is it gives a score to every user, or every user in the organization has a score. Of course, on day one, it begins with 0, and 100 is very dangerous. So 0 is good. So everybody begins with 0 as and when they are doing activity. So let me just take an example of the Tesla example here. So, this guy joined that organization, the employee, he joined the organization, and after a few months, he started applying for jobs. Some of those activities he did from his official machine, which got captured as a green button that you see here, and his score rose from 0, let us say, to 35. And then after a few months or few days or few weeks rather, he attempted to make copies of huge amounts of data. And what kind of data was he copying? He was copying data that he traditionally does not copy or normally does not copy. So if you're copying some unusual data which you normally don't, then it is a flag. If your job entitles that you have to copy huge amounts of data every day, then you're not a threat. But if they're doing it as not as a normal practice, then it is a flag, and then it becomes an yellow flag. Let us give it some numbers. Maybe it became 7 or 65. And then he tried to take screenshots because he was not able to copy some data. Maybe it was something was preventing. So then we had its score going up. So what are we doing? We are doing a risk scoring of each employee based on every activity that he does. It can work in both online and offline mode. It works along with the DLP solution. I'm sorry?
Another 2 minutes to go.
Sure, thank you. So the insider threat solution basically helps to prevent, even if there's an infection or even if there's a malware attack, the data can be prevented from being lost. So, that takes us to the next section, which is how do we protect our browsing habits and our web security. Web security, again, it's powered by various technologies, various solutions. For lack of time, I will rush through. But we have technologies. Most of them are patented, which allows us to blocks our users from going to malicious sites. And even if they happen to go, we today have technologies like remote browser isolation, which will render that page in a cloud location, not on an end user machine, wherein they only see the content of that web page, and any malware hidden or anything that might open is all opening in a remote cloud location and not in the network. So that way we can be doubly sure that there is no malware entering the network. Very quickly touching upon our next set of solutions, which are called as data guard. These are very useful in defense organizations or wherever there are IoTs and OT networks, wherein there are multiple networks. Usually there are multiple networks, and infection occurs in a vulnerable network, and it spreads to a more secure network, like we have seen in the previous examples. So a data guard solution can help both unidirectional or bidirectional controls as to what flows from one network to another. And this will help us to make sure that any infected network, the infection does not spread, but only legitimate data. It can also be applied to videos. So the technology is highly advanced today, which can be real time in terms of anything and everything that goes in the network. Of course, we have firewalls. Again, we have what is called as the most secure firewall. Some of the defense organizations in Delhi and most of the other parts, even some in the border locations, use our firewall, because our firewall is one of the most secure firewalls, which goes in conjunction with all our other security solutions. Everything can be managed through a single dashboard and a single control plane. So with that, I hope I'm under the 2-minute deadline, and thank you.
Thank you, Ajay-ji. Thank you so much. So Ajay-ji primarily spoke on that theme, data needs protection. Whether it's data in rest or data in motion, it really demands a lot of protection. And he spoke on the basic artifacts of data leak protection, who can send what information, where and how. So that summarizes how we should have a governing system for the whole security infrastructure that we put in place. He highlighted the insider and the external threat, the risk mitigation plans that we need to put in place so that the whole environment is more secure, more safe for the users to work. Thank you so much, Ajayji, with the deeper insights that you have presented on the technology and its details. We move on to our next speaker, Mr. Abhishek Kumar. He is the regional sales leader, Allied Telesis. He is having 14-year plus experience in the field of business development, solution consulting, designing of IP network solutions. He has been instrumental to various metro rail, safe city, smart city, next generation networks, and telecom projects in India. He has worked for various telecom operators like Deutsche Telekom, France Telecom, Orange Telecom, BSNL, MTNL, and Airtel. Prior to Allied Telesis, he has worked with Nokia, UT-Star, and other organizations. So I welcome him and request him to start his presentation. Please unmute yourself. We can't hear you, Abhishek.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, sir, for the brief introduction, and I'm thankful to Bharat Exhibition for organizing this event every year to bring all the stakeholders of Smart City on one podium to discuss and to bring their views in fine-tuning the process and standardizing the multiple technologies and solutions into the Smart City. I will not take too much time, and hope my presentation is visible to everyone.
Yeah, we can see it.
Yeah, so I look after sales for India region in Allied Telesis. Now we have seen, like I have joined all the sessions from the morning. One thing which I have seen and observed in all the sessions is now security is really a concern for everyone. We have infrastructure in place. We have multiple applications into a smart city. We have e-government services for the citizens. But what about the security? Because the hacking and these kind of incidences are increasing exponentially. So we Allied Telesis, we are a 32, nearly 34 years young organization, a Japanese OEM of switches and routing, focused into IP networks with 37 group companies in 24 countries around the world. And we have our own R&D facilities across 7 countries. Last year in 2020, we established our R&D center in India, Pune, in order to support the Make in India initiative of Indian government. We have like 4 manufacturing facilities around the globe, and in line with the mandate of the Indian government to provide non-China origin products in India, we are providing all from Singapore, Indonesia, or in the Taiwan facilities in all the government procurements. And we have global sales locations in 65 countries around the globe. And we have got a lot of recognition for our products, technology, we into in the field of automating the network operations, software-defined networking, or into cybersecurity as well, wherein we are working with our ecosystem partners and mitigating the threats which may come into the network. We are a partner into a Smart City Council in Europe. So we have got a lot of recognition into industry. Now, the dream which our Honorable Prime Minister has seen years back for building 100 smart city. Now we are seeing a smart city on the ground. Now it's the time to fine tune whatever we have done, what best we can bring into the network. And during the COVID days, we have seen that people were not able to move out of from home, and it was very difficult for the authorities also to provide the services, e-governance services continuously to the citizens. And that's where the network automation, ease of manageability comes into picture. How you can automate the day-to-day operations without utilizing your manual resources at the site. Remotely, how much you can do. We are continuously working in bringing network automation into network, because smart cities networks are very big network because they are spread across the city. Thousands of switches are deployed across the city. So it's quite a big network which need to be managed and controlled by the authorities. And of course, the availability is really a concern for everyone to provide uninterrupted services to all the citizens. And of course, the cyber security, how to secure the communication, as we have discussed in prior in sessions, that thousands of sensors are deployed across the city. Sensors have very little capabilities. They do not have too much provisions of security. How to create a secure communication of sensors to the data center, because these are the vulnerable points. These are the soft points, soft targets for the hackers to enter into the network. We have to bring our concentration focus on the edge of the network, which is very important. And we have observed in all the major smart city projects happened to date, major cost into these network is of ISP network bandwidth, because connectivity is important and it is very costly. How to optimize the network bandwidth as much as possible in order to reduce the cost of the overall project. And of course, the manageability, the single pane from where everything can be managed at the data center level. And we have the complete solution to provide all these services, all these products, to bring a reliable and communication backbone for smart cities. Like I said, that in the smart cities, these are very much vulnerable, and across the globe, we have seen so many attacks happen onto the municipal corporation networks, wherein they have seized the complete data of the citizens, they have taken out, they have completely blocked the communication of e-governance services. So smart cities are very much vulnerable because the devices are across the city. And the most important point is that, so we have to take care, we have to take seriously the edge of the network. Whenever we plan any smart city, we have observed that we always give importance to data center. We have what the best technology we can utilize into data center, but nothing, a kind of focus or seriousness is not seen at the edge of the network, which is very important, because that is the entry point for the network of any smart city in India. If you look at the certain data, these incidences are increasing day by day. The security breaches are increasing day by day, and they are not restricted to only enterprises. They are entering into government. That's the certain data which shows like it is quite serious situation right now, and we have to take concern of it, and we have to do whatever is required in order to secure our communication into smart cities. We have to standardize some security policies, and considering all these things, all these threats, Ministry of Urban has already drafted its policy, cybersecurity policy in 2016, which is based on NIST, and wherein they have already mentioned and focused on that the messages exchanged between various applications has to be encrypted and authenticated. All the sensors, devices which are deployed across the city must be authenticated, must be prior authenticated at the time of installation or provisioning. And there is a reason behind why we are not able to secure is because managing 1,000 devices across the city is very difficult. We can change our username and password periodically on our computer. Like every 3 months, I change my password of emails. But how periodically or frequently we change password of our devices which are deployed across the city? There are many incidences happened across the globe. Like in US, 30,000 cameras were hacked in US because their username password was like manager and friend, which is default. And everybody knows about it. And this is the soft target for the hackers to get into it. But the issue for the authorities is how to change periodically thousands of devices, username and data in one go. it's a tedious job and they do not have resources, and that's why they don't do it, and these are the soft targets for the hackers. That's why we bring the software-defined networking technology solution for automating the day-to-day operations. With this solution, we work with the various ecosystem partners like cybersecurity solution providers, wherein we continuously keep data and check the logs of the security appliances like firewall or any other appliances which is monitoring the data flowing into the network. And also with this platform, you can update any configurations, any parameters into the network in one shot. Just create a command and apply to all the switches into the domain. They all will be configured, all will be updated in one go. And that's how we bring the automation. Now, what about the security? Now, what happens that if you look at any data breach or any attack usually happens in non-working hours when people are sleeping in their homes, and at that time only they always do a cyber attack. Till the time when the IT team get to know that the cyber attack has happened, or the whole network is got infected. What is the remedy? So this AMF-SEC security solution works with the security appliances. The moment it gets the information from the security appliances that the breach has happened or a threat has been detected, we isolate that device from where the threat is being generated from the network within 1 second time, so that the threat cannot be spread across the network, and whole network cannot be, the infection should not flow or spread across the network. And that's how we automate the security into the network.
Another 2 minutes to go.
Okay. And secondly, this kind of images, if we are having into our system, they are of no use, right? Because so network planning comes into picture. We have to do a bandwidth planning, network planning, which plays a vital role. We have to keep, because CCTV is the major application into these domain, into these smart cities. So we have to consider bandwidth planning and all. Secondly, we have to use how we can utilize the network, optimize the bandwidth utilization by having multicast into the network. We always recommend to go for layer 3 multicast kind of architecture, because these are big networks, and layer 2 loops is a big issue into these projects. So layer 3 multicast has to be considered into these smart city projects. And everybody is concerned about the interoperability, and we have ensured seamless interoperability. We work with all ecosystem partners, whether into command and control level or facial recognition, data center or cybersecurity level, and ensure seamless interoperability at all layers, like whether it at the edge where the cameras are there, or at the service provider level where the connectivity is there, or at the command and control center where the multiple applications are working. And we are very much thankful to all our customers and clients who have given a very continuous confidence on us. And in last 10 years, we have done so many smart city and safe city projects in India. And continuously, we are working and bringing new products and new technology to the smart city projects. This is the industrial grade switches, they are the heart of the smart city, because these are deployed across the city and provide connectivity to the end devices, be it a camera or an IoT gateway or any device which is deployed across the city are terminated on hardened industrial grade switches, which we have, these are deployed across all the safe city and smart city in thousands of numbers. And apart from that, Allied Telesis, we are doing a lot of projects into metro rail projects and into airports. And these are the critical projects where we have provided complete interoperability in terms of supporting to our partners and and the clients also. These Ministry of Defense, research labs. So we have a lot of good references in India, and continuously working and improving our solutions and technology in order to bring a reliable communication network backbone for all these projects. We have complete end-to-end product portfolio, starting from the data center switching to the edge switches, routers, media converters, Wi-Fi and Wi-Fi APs and all, complete portfolio we do have, which is required. So thank you very much from my side. And if you have any questions, you can contact me anytime. I will be very happy to help you.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Abhishek ji has kindly mute yourself. On the smart city networks, as they are really big, so we need a lot of automation to happen for their manageability. He highlighted the cyber threat to the smart cities, particularly the threat from the edge, as most of the hackers, the entry point happens to be the edge. The VPN tunnels from the edge to the data center is one answer that he presented. I also remember the Aadhaar project initially. The biometric devices which were deployed, used, were not having those digital tokens or the encryptions, but in the phase 2, all biometric devices were deployed with the encryption and digital tokens in place. So the edge is certainly a big concern, and we need to be sure that the devices connected have a very secure layer connecting to the main data center. So software-defined network, he explained in detail how it's the answer to most of the challenges that are presented by the cyber threats. So thank you, Abhishek ji, for educating all of us on these challenges. May I now invite Sangeeta Das, our next and the last speaker for today's session. She's the co-founder and CEO, Collaborative Intelligence, global robotics and AI startup, highly focused on R&D in the areas of image processing, machine learning, computer vision, and deep learning. It's all about human way of working and thinking. We all do image processing, machine learning. So learning is emulated into the machines. I still remember again my days when all of this mapping of images into the neurals was really a very interesting program for myself also. And I'm reading the same thing here. And she was awarded Startup of the Year 2017 by Silicon India, and subsequently recognized as most disruptive startup of 2018 at the Mint Enterprise Technology Summit. So there's a lot more which has been written. Probably it will take much longer to tell, but I'm very sure that after listening to her, very little would be required to explain about her. So I invite her to please have your thoughts presented. Over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Dua, and thank you, Bharat Exhibitions and Sashidharan, of course, giving us an opportunity to speak at this event. So I represent, like I said, Collaborative Intelligence, and we are again into smart cities. We're trying to develop solutions, but we are largely an AI and robotics company. So with that, I think I have to put this up here. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to start with the fact that, it's Elon Musk's page that we really liked and we picked this up. Says the first step is to establish that something is possible, and then probability will occur. And we thought that it was very, very critical, because mostly when you go to someone, say we want to do something, they'll say, what is the probability of success? So we would just go back and say that, let's figure out what we can do first, and then we can figure out what next. And I have been in the banking space in my previous organizations. I've worked with JP Morgan Chase, and I remember not even 10 years back, the CEO actually of credit card had actually told us that try and maximize the spend on a credit card today, because probably a couple of years down the line, the credit card or the plastic will disappear. And today, as we speak, we realize that, the mobile phone is everything for us, right? Today, we don't need anything. I mean, and especially with COVID, everything is on the mobile. So yeah, so, we never realized that it would ever get replaced, but it did. Anyway, so just quick introduction about ourselves. Who are we? So what are we doing? So collaborative intelligence, making the unmanned intelligent, is what we talk about. We think that the differentiating factor between a human being and a machine today is that a human being has the brain or is intelligent. So if you want to make a machine intelligent, then you would have probably, made huge progress in sort of what we would call the ethical AI, right? So for us, we are basically a deep tech company, and we've had over a lot of years of experience in deep tech using computer vision. So we're largely in computer vision, machine learning, and what do we do? And robotics, and that's where we transform unmanned devices into intelligent objects of purpose, is what we're saying, and that's how the robotics arm comes in, and we are a very hardcore research-led organization, but we're not an academia or a research organization. We want to monetize our products, and therefore we do have certain products that are out in the market, and smart city intelligence. I mean, our platform is actively being offered in the smart city space. We're doing a lot of work with the Indian defense space, and we're now looking to move into obviously the consumer or the commercial space. So moving here. So quick, brief about what are some of our products. So we have two lines of product. One is basically the AI product. That is the Trambak range of applications that we have. So the product that we have today, our platform actually solves for purposes like the traffic violation, which is a critical element of the smart city today. So most of the CCTV camera or the smart city work is more focused towards traffic violation. So we have our application actually pretty much does what it's supposed to do: red light violation, seat belt, triple riding, helmet, and the works. And then we have what we call the intelligent surveillance, and that is something that we sort of apply to more mainly in the defense space for perimeter security, and giving them certain decision sciences models which actually tell them what's happening. So it's not just video surveillance, but it's a lot more than that, because if you can't tap AI in the way it exists today, then it'll just remain a fancy word. And then of course access control. And then we have what we've implemented is in the animal corridors, we have something, our platform is utilized to identify animals and make sure that they're safe. It's not just human beings. Then we also have our solution where we're utilizing, again, it's a camera-based solution to ensure that we detect drones. Sometimes you may not see, your radars may not be able to capture these, but an optical sensor is highly suitable, and the AI models are fairly suited to take care of some of this. So even if you sort of miss some of these things, you may have heard this recent the Jammu airport incident where there was a drone that was flying very low, and it was almost like tree hugging, as they call it. So sometimes because of the frequency, it's also spread out, the radar may miss it. So there are multiple layers of sensors that you would need to use to be able to track something like this. And that's one of the solutions that we have. And we most recently, we've got a government project on satellite image analytics, and we are very excited about it. We think it's a very, very exciting project for us. And I'll talk a little bit about some of the other projects that we've done and a case study in the government space. On the robotics line, we feel that today a lot of the work is being done using static cameras or stationary cameras, but there is a lot more that you could do possibly with robotics as well, and especially in the COVID days. So we have certain platforms that we've built which are intelligent. Like I said initially, that what we're trying to really build is intelligent platforms. So making machines intelligent, and they have to have a purpose for being there. So we're not into AI where you're just morphing the face and all having fun, but we do want to utilize AI in a way that will transform our existence or support human beings, right? So Rakshak Bot is a load-carrying robot that we have. I will show you a little bit towards the end. We have a Rakshak Mini platform. We have the Lynx platform, which is like an agile stealth and self-destruct platform. So you can carry a bomb and just sort of explode if it requires, or you can just drop it and come back. And all of these platforms that we have, they're patented wheel and hybrid wheel assembly. So the platforms are all patented. There are patents, and they can actually climb stairs. They can do rough terrains. And those are really, really important or critical for our current customer, which is the defense, so that they're able to do mostly rough terrain or at least climbing stairs kind of situation. So the platform is critical from its maneuverability or mobility perspective. So those are the things that we've taken care of when it comes to the mechanical aspect of the robots. And of course, the intelligence is what we give to CCTV cameras, exactly what we give to some of the robots. And they can do up to about 1 kilometer of streaming and transferring information. So and they're like really tiny ones, so they can transmit about, I think we've tested about 1 to 1.2 kilometers, unlike the drones, which can do a lot more, of course. So I'm going to jump to the next slide. So this is just a slide that I picked up from a Deloitte study of 2015, generally to just give a perspective that, this was 2015 and we are in 2021. And look at the stuff that we were assuming that we would do have already been implemented. For instance, smart city, look at the red light, look at the smart city, stuff, the waste management and all of these things. Everything in bits and pieces today, we believe, have been implemented. So, there's been significant progress in the last, I guess, 5 years or 4 or 5 years, where we see so many cities come under the smart city envelope, and of course the 100 smart towns is another initiative. So all of that taken together, this slide, which is of 2015, is almost as good as obsolete, because everyone's sort of learned this. This is nothing new to us anymore. So anyway, next slide is, what are the 6 crucial elements for a smart city? We think that ICT, we've talked a lot about that today, right? So we've talked about IoT, sensors, and then, so the other element that I wanted to talk a little bit about is the geospatial technology, because that is, again, becoming very, very important. We haven't tapped into that yet. I guess we've really played with a lot of CCTV cameras, but geospatial, again, is a critical element, and then artificial intelligence and blockchain. So I'm going to talk a little bit about artificial intelligence and the shift that we're seeing in AI adoption. Now, AI there hasn't been any, we haven't seen a large scale adoption of AI. We've seen video analytics, we've seen video surveillance, we've seen after the fact video, analytics after the fact, but we've not really seen real time AI adoption technology or tools or products, right? Because we've not been able to really accelerate AI adoption. And that's more so because we are not happy with a 50% accuracy. It should be almost as good as 100%. And unless they're not standardized, it's very, very difficult for AI to play a role. And therefore, we've seen limited adoption, but it's increasing. So I wanted to talk about what do we need to do? And especially when you look at COVID situation, there has been a need for a lot of cameras. We've seen that there have been a lot of cameras, but you have not been able to do away with the workforce, because the workforce continued to be there. So therefore, there is a glaring need that we see, and the ratios are unworkable. On one hand, you're spending a lot to keep cameras, you're keeping people there to just sort of monitor those cameras, right? And then you have shortage of human workforce. And then I would touch upon a bit about the accuracy. So if your AI model is not able to give you what it's expected to give you, then the whole purpose is defeated. So people would not want to implement an AI solution. So how is the shift happening today? So I think we need more in the integrated models. I know that we talked a little bit earlier that you have the whole cloud architecture, you have different cities which are already, you have a lot of edge devices that we talked about. They're not integrated. What you're seeing in Noida, you probably will not even relate to in terms of what's happening in Gurgaon. But we actually have all of that data. So they're not just integrated. And we were looking at getting more satellite and aerial imagery into the overall safe and smart city. And that's how the shift is happening. Although in India, we're just starting to do that. But if you look at globally, there is a shift, and there's a lot of research going around that. And there are some models. I mean, Microsoft's worked on something.
2 minutes.
Oh, okay. So quickly. So, and then the second thing that we have is the instance-based anomaly detection. So quickly, I want to touch upon this. See, earlier we were just looking at one aspect. We were training the model to find out whether the vehicles, sort of jump the red light or not, or just one object and train them. Today, the model becomes more anomaly, based. So you can just talk about, you should have a camera and the camera should just tell you anything that's happening. It doesn't necessarily have to be just one item that you're picking up from the from the model. And then you have your data science models, of course. They are also evolving, and there are like significantly different models today that you can use. Quickly, I wanted to talk about this particular case study. We use a new model where you're not focusing on just one aspect of AI, but overall. And these are the results that we saw. We took a critical institution. This is what we did. Basically, we were looking at everything that was there, and we were trying to pick up what was an anomaly, not just a car or a number plate, but people. If people were standing in a particular way, that's the right thing. If people were standing in a different way, that was an anomaly. If somebody was going against the direction of a parking space, that's an anomaly. So these are certain things that we picked up and we did, and this was a huge success in terms of, if you can see this, where the car is coming to hit this is an anomaly. A machine would have never seen this in a normal situation, and this is what it has seen. So this was a successful, deep learning new technology solution that we actually put together. And then, these are some of, I just want to talk about how AI has shifted, how the shift has happened in AI from a regular object detection model to a more anomaly detection model with what we're using today is the fast RCNN, because, you definitely need a huge computational infrastructure to even handle like terabytes and petabytes of data. And these are some of our products. I already talked about them. There's the Rakshak bot, there's the Lynx. And if ever anybody needs a robot, we have the whole set of platforms. Anywhere in the COVID space, if there is a requirement, these are what we have. And so that was my presentation. I'd be happy to take any questions or anything. And please feel free to reach out to me. I've put my information here. And I'd be happy to talk a lot about some of the new stuff that we are doing anyway in terms of the technology. Thank you, Mr. Dua. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Sangeeta. So you spoke really well on the role of artificial intelligence in creating sustainable smart cities. And one interesting question that you posed, if man and machine work side by side, which one will make the decision? Interesting one. So my take would be with the example that globally we are now seeing that the robotic surgeries combined with a lot of artificial intelligence and 5G networks in place has started happening. So you have one human expert, a surgeon, taking charge of 10 surgeries happening simultaneously with the robots, and the 90% job is taken care by the robo, and 1% or 10% intervention from the medical expert sitting remotely. So a combination of machines and human will always be in place to put a better governance system in place, and be it smart cities, smart hospitals, smart surgeries, and all those new areas of innovation. So thank you once again, and I'm feeling really delighted to be part of today's program. Excellent lineup of speakers that we had. It was a very, very enriching experience for me personally, and I thank all the speakers once again. So over to Shashiji, and thank you to you also.
Thank you, Vivekji. Thank you very much. We had an excellent presentation from various speakers, and also to manage the speakers, we had an excellent chairman. So big hands to you, Vivekji. You managed it very well. I can see Sharadji is giving a very good clapping. I can see his video is on. Thank you, Sharadji. Thank you very much. Having said that, Sangeeta, we can, of course, you can work with all the partners here. I'm sure Sharadji, Vivekji, all you can work. They all work on this industry, which maybe with collaborative with all this. Sangeeta, you can talk to them and take it forward, your robotics business. Sir, thank you very much. We move to the next session. Although we are well in time for the next session also, it's already 2:15. Yes, we move to the next session, sir. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you all.
today's connected world, smart businesses and cities depend on video surveillance and a wide array of other sensors to inform decisions and create a safe environment. Allied Telesys Power over Ethernet switches make deployment simple by connecting and powering devices through a single Ethernet cable. Our continuous PoE guarantees uninterrupted power delivery to cameras and other sensors, even when the switch is rebooted. So go ahead and upgrade your network anytime, without worrying about video outages or the need to reconfigure camera settings. Cameras that support local storage resync to the network when the link is back. Continuous PoE is available on a number of our industrial and X-series switches as part of our industry-leading feature set. Allied Telesys. Network smarter.